A pair of elegant candlesticks was brought to the show. The guests purchased them at an auction house in the late 1980s or possibly the early 1990s, though they were uncertain due to the time that had passed. The appraiser identified the candlesticks as bocage candlesticks, explaining that the flowering bush depicted behind each piece is referred to as bocage. The appraiser suggested that these candlesticks were likely made by a manufacturer called Samson, known for producing high-quality replicas of 18th century designs. Samson bocage candlesticks typically showcased intricate and vibrant floral motifs, often painted in bright colors. Collectors often sought out Samson pieces due to their craftsmanship and aesthetic appeal. The appraiser emphasized the fine craftsmanship and historical significance of the items. Depending on their condition, rarity, and design, the candlestick's value would be.
Put into an auction today, they would make somewhere between $800 and $1,200.
The guest brought in a stunning piece of jewelry that belonged to her grandfather, who was a goldsmith in the early 19th century. It is an example of Victorian jewelry at its best, and a type of jewelry often called Holbein-esque jewelry that was a fashion statement throughout England in the 1860s.
And, well, it's a stunning example of Victorian jewellery at its absolute best.
It is also confirmed by the use of the peridot at the centre to show it's a jewellery from the Renaissance period. This piece is called a Holbein-esque jewellery because it is based on Holbein's designs held in the British Museum. Hans Holbein Younger, born in 1457, was a German-Swiss painter and printmaker who worked in the Northern Renaissance style and is considered one of the portraitists of the 16th century. It wasn't until the 18th century that his designs inspired jewelry making. This jewelry also has a similar style to another jewel known as the grizzly jewels that was famous in the 19th century. Because of the stylized flower heads, enamel work on top and at the back are Tudor roses in vivid red and green.
This is enamel work, is it not?
It is.
All around
it's
the
called
edge here, yes.
Chanlevé enamel. It's again a Renaissance technique where the gold is engraved and then it's flooded with these very vivid colours.
It was made in 1870 and is in pristine condition, making it very desirable. In a specialist auction, this piece of jewellery would be in excess of.
One could expect to pay £8,000 for it, and if somebody was really greedy, perhaps 10,000 for such a dazzling example.
Gosh.
This piece has been repaired and refurbished by the guest, but it's captivating to watch. It is known as a Swiss singing bird box, and the cover is a flowery designed enameling. The reason it's brightly coloured is to attract Oriental audiences, as they were usually exported to the Middle or Far East.
And the reason that it is brightly coloured is because it's to attract an Oriental audience, really. It's almost certainly made for export to the Middle, if not the Far East.
It's quite difficult to put a date on this, but the fashion began in 1820, and because it was successful and highly amusing, the design continued. The stationary bird begins to move its beak and wings when the wires come up the little pedestal.
They are miracles, really. It's miracles, tiny miracles to keep at home in a strange way. You've got to envisage a society where there's no television.
Also, the numerous bellows are made of mouse skin or chicken skin, which is an absolute miracle. The bird is a swan with hummingbird feathers, which gives the enchanting looks. Although this singing box wasn't particularly meant for children, it looks like a child's plaything. Moreover, the guest had it appraised a few years ago, and it was £4,000. Even today, an auction estimate for the Swiss singing bird box would be.
I think £4,000 is quite enough. I mean, it's a right value. I would go along with that.
An old cricket bat was showcased at the show. At first, it didn't look impressive from the front due to its age and wear, but it held significant value. The bat was adorned with the signatures of players from the Australian and England teams. These signatures were from the 1936-37 Ashes series, which was played in Australia. The appraiser discussed Donald Bradman's outstanding performance in the third test.
We came to the third test match. Remember, England 2 up. And England were about to win the third test when the great Donald Bradman came to the wicket.
Bradman, who averaged 99.94 runs per innings throughout his career, was a major highlight contributing to the bat's value. The bat also featured signatures from the England team, including Wally Hammond, an English first-class cricketer who represented Gloucestershire. The initials WRH on the bat could have indicated that it belonged to Wally Hammond, adding to its intrigue. The appraiser purchased the bat for £200 at an auction. He believed that its value would increase over time. The future value the bat could potentially fetch was.
You'll say, what's this bat worth? And who knows? Might be £2,000 or £3,000 by then.
A ring befitting of its fancy title, this lovely tiara ring was bought at a garage sale in McGill, Nevada by the guest and fiancé at the time, for the sum of $1,250. The ring was made by Marcus & Company, which was located in New York. The ring is made notably of 18-karat gold, green enamel, and a few carats of diamond.
This is an unusual piece for several reasons. One, it's in 18-karat gold.
The appraiser valued it at about $6,000. As of 2014, it was valued at about $12,000.
And in today's market, you're talking about in the neighborhood of $6,000.
The guest, a landscape artist, presented a unique collection of discarded objects. Each item, from old bottles and tools to broken pieces of slipware, held a deep connection to the industrial past of South Yorkshire. These items revealed the history of the hard-working men and women who lived and worked in the region. The appraiser expressed surprise at how beautifully curated the collection was. The guest explained that his passion for collecting began with his father, who was a coal miner.
My father, he was a coal miner, and he had a fascination for landscape. And when I was a kid, he used to take me on walks.
This led to a lifelong habit of researching and delving deeper into history. The collection included various interesting artifacts. There were broken pieces of slipware found near a riverbank, bicycle lights unearthed from ash dumps, and even a pair of boots discovered in a trench. Through extensive research, the guest uncovered the history behind some objects. For example, the boots were traced back to a photograph in the Stock Region District Historical Society.
The history of the boots.
I came across a photograph in the archive of the Stockbridge District Historical Society.
This discovery showcased a powerful connection between the objects and the stories of the working communities. The guest's dedication to preserving this history enhances the value of these objects. The lithograph was given to the guest by her elder sister. The lithograph is by the artist Grant Wood. Wood was a Midwestern artist known for his famous painting American Gothic. He was a regionalist artist and alongside painters Thomas Hart Benton and John Stuart Curry advocated regionalism through his works. This lithograph was one of the 20 different lithographs made by Wood. It is titled Fertility and was made in 1939.
It is indeed a Grant Wood. It's a lithograph by Grant Wood, probably better known to most people as the painter of the famous painting American Gothic.
It is considered one of Wood's popular works due to the similarities in scenery with his iconic American Gothic. 250 pieces of the lithograph were published by the Association of American Artists in the 60s. The lithograph is valued at about.
Placement value on this, or an insurance value, would be in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $12,000.
Oh my.
Discovering this item felt like unearthing a hidden treasure. They explained how the canvas fits onto the piece and is securely held in place. The setup includes space for organizing paints and other supplies. They pictured themselves painting while wearing a beret, fully immersed in their work. After finishing, they could easily pack up their things and move on to their next location. The initial price quoted for the item was $120. They hoped they could negotiate it down to around $80.
Can we say 85 and we'll go for that?
Oh, please.
Oh.
They saw a stamp with a name that was hard to read but noted it was made in France. They were impressed, associating it with Montmartre. They loved it, negotiated to $85 and completed the purchase with thanks.
85, I think I have to
go on,
85.
Thank
you so very much. Okay.
Oh, that's the first.
Thank you very much.
A collector of unusual mid-century modern pieces brings this unique piece to the show. The George Nelson prototype floor lamp was bought from an antique dealer by the guest and her husband in Saugatuck. Having been familiar with the Nelson bubble, they had never seen it in this form. George Nelson, who was the lead designer for the Herman Miller Furniture Company in the 1950s, produced numerous exciting 20th century modernist furniture pieces, of which this is one.
And did a lot of really interesting things. I looked at this with a couple of my colleagues, and we do believe that it's a George Nelson prototype.
Prototype lamp holder was valued at about $4,000 to $6,000. In 2022, the value rose to between $6,000 to $9,000.
Interesting, because I paid $280
You did very well. You did very well.
In the world of antiques, trends come and go, but some pieces stand the test of time. Our expert host addresses a curious phenomenon, the waning popularity of brown furniture. To challenge this trend, he presents a stunning example from the 1800s, a tilt-top tripod table. The table's foundation is a beautifully crafted tripod base.
From the bottom up, it has a tripod base, umbrella base, shaped like an umbrella being opened out.
Rising from this base is an exquisite vase-shaped stem. Crowning the piece is a rich oval mahogany top. Upon tilting the top, a 200-year-old original brass catch can be seen.
Some other hallmarks where the original one was. That's been there for 200 years.
In today's retail landscape, a table of this caliber would be priced around.
If this were retailed in a smart shop, you could see a price tag of $895, $995 on it.
This particular piece exemplifies Robert Compston's ability to meld traditional and contemporary elements within his sculptural practice. The sculpture stands tall at an impressive height, commanding attention and admiration from all who encounter it. Compston's masterful manipulation of materials, such as bronze, further adds to the sculpture's tactile allure. The guest describes the sculpture as Picasso-esque.
She's cool, I like her. It was interesting to hear Nick talk about how she's Picasso-esque.
In examining the sculpture, one cannot help but be captivated by the intricate details and textures that adorn its surface. Each etching and carving tells a story, inviting viewers to delve deeper into the artist's narrative. The sculpture seems to radiate with energy and emotion. Its form exhibits a harmonious balance between organic and geometric shapes, creating a visually dynamic composition. The guest reveals,
They just filmed me and he appraised her at $4,000 to $7,000.
This vintage bathtub was a game-changer in its time. Crafted by the renowned plumbing fixtures company J.L. Mott Ironworks, this bathtub showcased intricate design and advanced functionality. J.L. Mott Sits was truly ahead of its time, showcasing innovation and luxury. This great piece dates back to 1890, and its design indicates it was made in the Victorian era.
Porcelain over cast iron. We have an oak frame. I believe the feet are made out of brass or bronze.
This rare Sits bathtub goes for about $3,000 to $5,000. This beautiful piece of furniture takes us back to the year 1830, when expert craftsmen poured their heart and soul into creating masterpieces like these. The guest purchased it from a family that lived in Albion, Indiana. Made from solid oak, the Pennsylvania Dutch dower chest features a distinctive hex sign design on its front panel, symbolizing good luck and protection. Poplar is a common wood used to make these chests.
Poplar is a wood that has a nice smooth grain and it accepts paint very readily.
In the Pennsylvania Dutch culture, these chests were often given to young brides as part of their dowry. The intricate hand-carved motifs, including tulips and hearts, further enhance its visual appeal. However, the value is in the paint. It's not just a piece of furniture, it's a tangible link to the past and is valued between.
Situation, I would estimate it probably $1,200 to $1,500.
A fascinating buck which reflects a portion of Portland's colorful history. The crime album contains the details and pictures of persons who between April 1902 and November 1903 were in the Portland prison. The mugshot buck was given to the guest by a family friend who worked in the Portland Police Department, as the bucks were converted to microfiche and thrown away. This oddly fascinating buck provides detailed information on each criminal, from the name, alias, crime, body features, and much more. Interestingly, another feature of this buck that catches the eye are the mugshots.
These images have a relationship to photography that's part of a new genre of photography called vernacular photography.
This form of photography refers to amateur or everyday snapshots taken by ordinary people, capturing daily life moments. The pictures are very collectible, as fine art photographs by institutions or private collectors.
When we look at these pictures, they tell us something about people that speaks a universal truth.
At auction, the album is valued at $6,000 to $9,000.
That's wow. We'll all be surprised over that, yes.
Bargain hunting demands attention to detail. In this episode, a range of items would be displayed and see if you can estimate their auction prices. Let's begin with this stunning coquille nut pomander, a rare piece from the 1890 to 1910 period.
You might have put a little sponge in here, almost like a vinaigrette, or you might have put flowers in there like potpourri.
Up next are these two exquisite glass vases, identical in design and craftsmanship. Following that, we have a mysterious object that looks like a night watchman's rattle. This beautiful pair of Dutch silver spoons looks like it would carry a pretty penny. Then there's this fascinating Zimbabwean carving with a distinctly ancient appearance. Also on display is this breathtakingly beautiful silver mesh handbag, expertly crafted. This handbag has generously sized pockets, perfect for a lady's everyday needs. A buck like no other, the buck whose value is not in its title or the author, but in the touching messages inscribed in it. The buck, which was bought by the guest's wife at a local library auction for 15 cents, is shown to be used sometime in 1942 as a 4th grade textbook at the Santa Anita Japanese internment camp. It was owned by a Japanese-American woman named Nagiko. She taught the 4th grade during her stay there, before her transfer to another camp in Arkansas. The book contains farewell writings from friends, colleagues, and students, wishing her well and hoping to see her again.
There's a really touching letter where the woman says, although we may not go to the same camp, we'll see each other again, and I'm hoping that we'll arrive at the same camp so that we can continue on with our friendship.
The appraiser values the buck at about.
I would place this at auction between $700 to $900.
Oh, wow.
So not bad for 15 cents, I have to say.
In an auction room filled with peculiar and interesting objects, a Carnival glass punch bowl catches the attention of the auctioneer. The punch bowl, described as a monstrous and horrendous piece, was made by the Indiana Glass Company of America in the 1960s. Despite being considered ugly and a questionable purchase by the auctioneer, its garish appeal sparks debate. The punch bowl, known as Harvest, is intact with all its pieces in full working order, making it a functional item despite its unconventional appearance. Initially, the auctioneer is baffled that such an object was even acquired, as it seems to have little value. However, to the surprise of all, the punch bowl receives significant interest at the auction. Bidding begins modestly but quickly picks up, with offers coming in from various buyers. The punch bowl surprisingly sells for £100, proving wrong expectations.
Back of the room at £100.
I don't believe this.
Its quirky appeal shows public taste differs from experts. The auctioneer is amused, surprised by the unexpected profit. The antique tea set, of which its beauty is a sight for sore eyes, makes way to the show. The guest bought the tea set from an antique dealer in 1973 for $200. The tea set has similarities to 18th century pieces, with small size and unique style of painting. The style is similar to the Dresden style. The appraiser reveals some truth to the piece's authenticity.
Unfortunately, although this has some good attributes, it is a fake, an antique fake. It's well over 100 years old, but it is a fake of a much earlier.
The tea set was made by the company Helena Wolfson in the 1880s. It is valued at around $400 to $600. A piece of memorabilia which leaves the appraiser reminiscing of the good old days. The guest, who had never been to the restaurant, bought the stage Deli wall clock at a thrift store for $78. The appraiser talks about his experience.
Very familiar with the stage Deli.
Are you? Really? Yeah.
They went there many times before they closed. A combination pastrami and corned beef was.
The Stage Deli, a restaurant owned by businessman Max Asnas, was located in New York from 1937 to 2012. The deli was famous for its Broadway-themed dishes, and also for naming dishes based on celebrities who dined there. The clock, which is of the 1970s, cannot be confirmed to either be the actual clock used in the deli or just a decorative item sold as a souvenir. The appraiser gives conditions for proper appraisal of the clock.
If you can come back to me with a photo of this clock inside the Stage Deli, I will change my appraisal from $200 to $2,000.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good news.
Incredibly, a small metal object can hold such immense historical value. This is the number plate of John Lennon's childhood home. If you're a fan of classic rock music, you've probably heard of John Lennon and the Beatles. The guest's uncle gave the number plate to him. Occasionally, people would wander into the house's garden to take pictures in and of the house. As a Beatles fan, this is a treasure memorabilia. At appraisal, this piece of metal is worth.
It was put into a specialist Beatles sale. This would make £5,000 to £8,000 easily.
Okay.
But it could double that. It could double that, okay? Right. It really could double that.
In the discussion, two speakers assess the value of a unique spider sculpture, with one explaining their role in galvanizing it. They expressed curiosity about its potential worth, noting that similar artistic creations, like dragons, can sell for up to £10,000. The conversation highlighted the spider's craftsmanship, emphasizing its distinctive appeal. Both speakers speculated on its market value, comparing it to higher-priced sculptures. One proposed a final price of £40 for the spider, reflecting the ongoing price negotiations.
Would you?
Absolutely. Fantastic. Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, that is fantastic. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Yes,
cheers.
spiders.
They noted the sculpture's unique qualities, sparking interest in its potential to attract buyers. Despite its modest pricing, the spider's artistic significance was acknowledged. The dialogue focused on how the sculpture would compete with more traditional pieces. Its market potential remained a point of intrigue as the speakers compared it to more valuable works. The highest value mentioned was £10,000 for dragon sculptures, highlighting the wide range in pricing for artistic items. Highest value, £10,000. About a year ago, this guest stumbled upon a hidden gem at Brimfield. The guest revealed that she acquired the piece for a mere $75. Little did she know that the exquisite piece would turn into something historical.
Well, let's talk about what it is. A lot of people would call it a jug or a pitcher, but I would call it a wine ewer. And at the time it was made, the Italian Renaissance was very much part of the modern taste.
The late 19th century emerges as a golden age of Renaissance revivalism. This piece was a great example of majolica, referring to the colours and glazes on it. The esteemed English firm Copeland crafted pieces that paid homage to this timeless style.
The quality of the modelling is superb, and I've looked it over, and I think it's in perfect condition, which is unusual for something of this age and fragility.
While not labelled as a priceless item, the piece could still fetch 4 or 5 times its purchase price. The appraiser suggests a retail value of $700. Ever wondered about the true value of antiques? From an autograph album to an ironstone plate, what's their worth at auction?
Typically Japanese, but this is interpretation by an English potter.
These are the questions that keep the bargain hunt teams on their toes.
Bargain hunting isn't easy. You have to keep your eyes open. Can you spot?
As the blue and red teams face off, they're constantly evaluating potential finds. The big question remains, will their chosen items be hidden gems or costly mistakes? Now it's your turn to join in the excitement. Think you have what it takes to predict auction prices accurately? Take this Denby Flamstead vase, for instance. Will it be a bargain or a bust? Remember, the world of auctions is full of surprises. Spotting a true bargain is an art form that takes skill and a bit of luck. The silver eyeglass case, originally brought to the show by this guest, originally belonged to her great-great-great-grandfather. It was allegedly an early 18th century relic, the world's first sunglasses. The guest's belief was rooted in a slip of paper with her grandmother's handwriting, providing historical details.
Made out of 9 silver dollars in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, sometime between 1728 and 1768.
However, after meticulous inspection, a twist in the tale was revealed. Upon opening the case, it revealed the hallmark Robert and William Wilson, Philadelphia, the maker's mark.
He was working around 1825 to the middle part of the 19th century, which unfortunately makes it impossible for it to have belonged to that relative of yours in the 18th century.
Despite the time gap, the silver eyeglass case is still acknowledged and could serve as a dual-purpose snuff box.
Don't find too many American coin silver spectacle boxes, so it's extremely interesting. American coin silver box of the early 19th century, it's worth about $1,000 to $1,500.
The accompanying silver spectacles are also from the 19th century.
I assume these belong to another relative of yours, and these fetch at auction about $100 or so. They're not as rare as the box.
Welcome to an exciting episode of Bargain Hunt, where strategy meets luck. Our contestants are divided into the classic red and blue teams, ready for action. Both teams are on a mission to uncover hidden treasures and secure the best deals. But don't be fooled, finding a true bargain is no easy feat.
A real Rolls-Royce Mascot, the flying lady, isn't she just gorgeous?
The auction results can be unpredictable, with some items bringing profit and others falling short. Ever thought you could do better than our contestants? Now's your chance to put your skills to the test. Can you predict the auction prices for these intriguing items? If you're feeling confident, why not challenge yourself? Remember, these objects might just surprise you. Their value could be more or less than you expect. An estimated investment of $2,000 brought forth costume sketches by renowned American costume designers, including one portraying the iconic Chita Rivera as Anita in the 1957 West Side Story Broadway debut by Irene Sharaff. This one is a costume sketch of Carol Channing in her legendary role from the 1964 original production of Hello, Dolly, sketched by Freddie Whittup. The guest was drawn to the enchanting world of Broadway musicals, leading to the acquisition of these pieces.
I was 11. My grandmother took me to the first film showing of The King and I fell in love with the American musical. And so I've always been interested in acquiring part of its history.
Irene Sharaff's costume sketch for West Side Story bears Chita Rivera's signature.
This one was done by Irene Sharaff, a very famous costume designer. She was nominated for Best Costume Design on this, but didn't win.
The Carol Channing sketch was framed, making it difficult to determine whether it's created on board or paper.
And that one, Freddie Whittop, he actually did win the award for Best Costume Design.
Both costume designers left their mark by signing and encapsulating the essence of these Broadway legends. Although Broadway pieces are not as prevalent in the market as Hollywood's film costumes, they possess a unique charm.
When you look at these, you have to look at who is portrayed, what's the production, is it the original production? Tick every single box you could possibly hope to tick, because they're both really important shows, they're both visually appealing.
These costume sketches have estimated auction values of $2,000 to $3,000 each. Would the guest be willing to sell them?
But I really didn't buy them as an investment. I bought them because I like the work.
Welcome to an intriguing episode that's sure to capture your attention. What makes this one so special, you might wonder? Today showcased are an array of unique items with an exciting twist. Curious about what this twist could be? It's time to put your appraisal skills to the test.
Can you spot what these items will make at the auction?
This episode is a guessing game for the viewers. Can you predict the auction prices for these diverse objects? Don't be fooled, it's trickier than you might think. These items could surprise you, selling for more or less than expected. This unpredictability is what makes bargain hunting so thrilling. The excitement builds as the blue and red teams embark on their treasure hunt. Among today's intriguing finds is a daguerreotype. This early photographic process marked the dawn of commercial photography. Another interesting item in the mix is a set of boat-shaped salts. Every object tells its own story, each with its unique charm and potential value.
You can see how the glass has been faceted and cut around the top. It's not just a bog-standard moulded glass.
But the burning question remains. Will these items turn out to be hidden treasures or disappointing busts? The auction could bring pleasant surprises or unexpected setbacks. This unpredictability is precisely what makes the bargain hunt so captivating. If it were you, would you be able to predict the auction prices for these unique items? Bargain hunting is an art that requires a keen eye and constant vigilance. In the sea of items, some may be hidden treasures, while others might disappoint. The thrill lies in distinguishing the gems from the ordinary. That's why alertness is crucial when you're on a bargain hunt adventure. Let's consider this intriguing candlestick, for instance. It's a piece from the 18th century, but does its age guarantee it's a bargain? Now feast your eyes on this unique glass vase.
Well, it's a piece of turquoise that you see set into jewelry.
It hails from Murano, an island famous for its centuries-old glassmaking tradition. Do you think that translates into having worth? Welcome to the intriguing world of antique valuation. Consider this royal Tunbridge ware. What would you pay, and at what price would you sell? Both the red and blue teams are on a quest for a special item like this. They're searching for hidden gems to buy low and sell high. Bargain Hunt is a treasure trove of such potential discoveries.
Tiffany & Co. there. The American firm.
People love a logo.
The real challenge, spotting these valuables among the ordinary. Could these butter knives be the bargain of the day? And what about these 6 cased silver teaspoons? Is their value greater as a set or individually? To truly know, you'd need an expert's eye or a stroke of luck. Now let's switch gears and join the teams on their treasure hunt. Blue team's on the prowl, while the red team's confidence is soaring. The auction house buzzes with anticipation and uncertainty. Which team will unearth the real treasures today? This unpredictability is what makes bargain hunt so thrilling. Think you could outperform the teams? Remember, age doesn't always equal value in this game.
When would the silversmith have been working?
50s, right?
50s, 60s.
Among these items, which do you think will fetch the highest price? Could this unlabeled teddy bear be the dark horse of the auction?
I don't think that there's a great deal of age about him, but I think he's kind of adorable.
These are the mysteries the teams unravel in every exciting hunt. A groundbreaking medical device was discussed at the show. The item was a standing frame for people with spinal injuries. The design was created by craftsman Theo Davies, who took on the project in 1971. The appraiser met Theo's son, who shared details about his father's creation and company.
In wood, speciality in timber as well. And my father just went and used his skills to design it.
The guest was taken by surprise when he discovered the hidden value of a family heirloom he knew little about. The guest admitted he didn't know much about the item in question. He explained that it belonged to his father's grandmother, who was religious, and had been stored in the basement for some time. The appraiser noticed a familial inscription on the front paste down, and the guest confirmed it was written by her. He mentioned she inherited it from her father and was surprised to realize it was 104 years old when she wrote it. The appraiser laughed, remarking on how long that was. He identified the item as the Bellows Falls Hymnal of the LDS Church, produced in 1844.
Well, this is the so-called Bellows Falls Hymnal of the LDS Church. It's one of the earliest hymnals that the church produced. It was 1844.
The first LDS hymnal was printed in 1835 by Joseph Smith's wife. This hymnal was significant for including musical notation alongside the words. The guest expressed his excitement, and the appraiser noted it was one of the rarest hymnals.
In addition to being one of the earliest hymnals of the LDS Church, it's also one of the rarest ones.
The appraiser then asked if the guest knew the hymnal's value. The appraiser estimated it could sell for between $40,000 and $50,000, leaving the guest astonished.
Your hymnal would sell between $40,000 to $50,000.
Oh, gosh, really?
Yes.
Our guest acquired this pottery piece from a small chapel where she does the flowers. After it was discarded during a basement cleaning, she cleaned off the grime to reveal a stunning glaze, but couldn't identify the mark on the bottom. The appraiser revealed it as a piece of Pisgah forest pottery made by Walter Stephen, who started.
Pisgah Forest was started in Arden, North Carolina. It's outside of Asheville in 1926.
Stephen was known for his craftsmanship, creating his own potting tools and using techniques like
decoration, which is like built-up decoration of scenes, and crystalline glazes.
This particular piece stands out due to its crystalline glaze and larger size, which is rare for Pisgah pottery. The snowflake crystals on the surface are an especially difficult effect to achieve, as Stephen used wood or gas kilns instead of modern electric kilns. The appraiser estimated the value at a jaw-dropping price of...
Conservatively, I would say between $2,000 and $3,000, but I wouldn't be surprised if it brought like $3,000 to $5,000 in that range. It's really quite nice.
Wow.
Yeah. You could look for Pisgah for the next 10, 20 years, and maybe you'll see one this good.
Wow. Amazing.
Walter Johnson signed baseball stuns its owner with an astonishing six-figure valuation. A guest brought in a Walter Johnson signed baseball received from a friend named Big Dick. Big Dick, a toy and sports salesman, had the ball before passing it to the guest.
From my friend Big Dick, who had it. He was a toy salesman and a sports salesman.
The guest admitted knowing little about Walter Johnson, but was drawn to the ball's age. The appraiser explained that Walter Johnson, known as the Big Train, was a legendary pitcher.
He was known as the Big Train because he had this blazing fastball.
Johnson played for the Washington Senators from 1907 to 1927, achieving 471 wins and 10 20-win seasons.
Well, Walter went on to pitch for the Senators for 21 years, starting in 1907 and retiring after the 1927 season.
In 1939, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame alongside Babe Ruth. Walter Johnson's signed balls are rare, as he wasn't as widely known as Ruth and died young in 1946. The appraiser valued most Walter Johnson balls between $5,000 and $15,000. However, this particular ball was described as spectacular and graded at a 9 out of 10. The auction estimate for the ball was set between $60,000 and $80,000.
I would put an auction estimate of $60,000 to $80,000.
Oh, my God.
The appraiser believed it could actually sell for at least $100,000. The guest was shocked and told to insure the ball for $150,000, calling the experience overwhelming. At an estate sale, a visitor stumbled upon a collection of 1960s fabrics that captured her heart. At an estate sale, a visitor found fabrics that epitomized 1960s style. She loved old fabrics and bought them for a total of $8.
I really love old fabrics, so I just bought them.
Uncertain if she had all 12 pieces, she confirmed it was $8 for the set.
How much did you pay for them?
$8, and there's still a few more. I'm not sure if I have all 12 or not.
The appraiser admired the fashion images and noted Bill Atkinson. However, her colleagues at the textiles table were unfamiliar with him. Consulting the internet, the appraiser found that Atkinson was an amazing designer. An article from Sports Illustrated in May 1956 described him as an architect. He helped make casual and sportswear more acceptable as everyday wear. The appraiser pointed out Atkinson's architectural influence in the straight lines. When asked about the fabric's purpose, the visitor guessed they were for a clothing line. The appraiser agreed, but suggested they were likely used in stores to showcase merchandise. She noted these were called watercolor studies, though they were printed, not true watercolors. The appraiser concluded that the pieces were extremely rare, the total value at auction between $2,400 and $3,200.
Making all 8 of them at auction estimated $2,400 to $3,200 for the group of 8 that we see here, not including the ones you have at home.
A family heirloom, this climbing axe symbolizes the first ascent of Denali and a legacy of adventure. The guest presents a climbing axe.
This is my great-grandfather's climbing axe from the first expedition up Denali.
His great-grandfather's, Harry Carstens, who was part of the first expedition to summit Denali in 1913. Carstens had a remarkable journey, starting as a young man who arrived in Dyer during the 1897 gold rush. He learned survival skills from the First Nations people and built a reputation for himself. Along with Archdeacon Hudson Stuck, he led the climbing team, which included Robert Tatum and Walter Harper. While the others lost their ice axes during the climb, Carstens' axe is the only one known to exist today. The appraiser noted its significance as a milestone object in mountaineering history. It has been in the guest's family and was stored in a trunk in a barn. For insurance purposes, the appraiser estimated its value.
For insurance purposes, $20,000.
Oh, no, that's a little bit too much.
You sure?
Now I gotta lock it up.
Our guest brought this Rolex Explorer 2 from a jeweler friend in Phoenix during the early 1980s. Originally designed for cave explorers, the watch features a 24-hour hand and a luminous dial. After the luminous quality faded, Rolex replaced the original dial and hands.
And I've kept all of it. About, I guess, 10, 15 years ago, I was in a photo store, and this guy said, "Let me see your watch," and I showed it to him, and he says...
Years later, a photographer identified the watch as a Steve McQueen Rolex, significantly increasing its perceived value. The appraiser highlighted that the watch is made from stainless steel with an acrylic crystal, enhancing its durability.
Because it was made for these speleologists, I had to look that one up.
Well, I couldn't remember what it was. I was told that, but I couldn't remember.
With the original hands and dial in excellent condition, the watch's value rose from...
Would place this watch $8,000 to $12,000.
Okay.
Okay? But it's all about the dial. Everything changes. So with the dial, that could be put back on.
Having all the original components, including the box and papers, made a huge difference in its worth. Our guest humorously joked about needing a security guard for his valuable piece. This remarkable piece, originally an engagement ring, belonged to the great-aunt of the current owner. The great-aunt, Renee Thornton, was a Metropolitan Opera soprano from the 1920s. Crafted around the turn of the 20th century, the pendant features exquisite craftsmanship. It is topped in platinum and backed with 14-carat yellow gold, reflecting the period's high-quality materials. The centerpiece is a diamond, weighing about 1.17 carats. It is surrounded by approximately 4.5 carats of old European-cut diamonds.
Diamonds around, so you have a great group of diamonds. These are all mostly old European cuts. That center diamond is a carat, about a carat 17, and this is by calculation, so I'm measuring and figuring out what I think it is.
Okay.
Its original engagement ring setting was transformed into a pendant by the owner's mother. Despite some modifications to the ball and pin stem, which removed some markings, the piece retains its elegance. The royal symbolism, heart motif, and connection to nobility further enhance its charm. With this history and quality, the pendant is valued at approximately $20,000.
I think a piece like this, retail, would be $20,000.
Are you kidding me? That's cute.
This rocking chair is a piece of lawn furniture made in 1925 by owner's grandfather. Chair has a unique hoop that starts here, goes all the way around, and then ends here. His grandfather was left-handed and was able to work with both hands. He made andirons, fences, furniture, and all kinds of things. This is one of the first metal chairs in tubular form, made of aluminium. Such chairs were common in Europe, but in America, production began in 1924. Owner's grandfather was an early producer of metal furniture.
You told me you rolled it across the lawn.
Right, you can roll it across the lawn to get it where you need to go.
It's a sign of modism, and the verdigris at the top is amazing. Most of it is aluminium, but the seat is made of brass. This unique piece has an insurance value of...
Easily be $7,500. Wow. $7,500.
Wow. That's crazy.
He found an old buck on clockmaking in an antique mall. A manuscript about Ferdinand Berthoud, the renowned 18th century Swiss watchmaker. Ferdinand Berthoud created marine chronometers essential for navigation. His work was vital in the competition between France and England to improve navigation tools.
This is such an unusual book because it is written by hand. It is not a printed book.
The 1792 book features Berthaud's cipher and two parts, one from 1791 and the other from 1792. The document includes schematics of clockwork systems essential to Berthaud's timekeeping instruments. These documents, with notes and diagrams, were vital for future watchmakers to replicate Berthaud's designs. They offer insight into individual designs and broader 18th century technological advancements. Its intricate designs impressed experts, prompting the appraiser to value the item.
I would say the estimate range should be $40,000 to $60,000.
Wow. Well, I had no idea what it's worth.
A dusty Apache basket, treasured by generations, holds a surprising value that connects family and history. The guest shares that the dusty Apache Oya basket belonged to her grandmother, who enjoyed playing with it as a child in the early 1900s. It was passed down from her great-grandmother, who received it as a gift. The appraiser confirms that the basket dates back to around 1890 and was originally used for grain storage.
This basket speaks of the turn of the century, so it was probably created about 1890 to 1900. It's called an Apache Oya.
He notes its remarkable condition and beautiful design, pointing out the intricate patterns and a dog figure on the basket. The guest has never had it appraised before and always viewed it as a practical yet beautiful item. While estimating its auction value, the appraiser said,
Well, if this was to come to auction on a sophisticated marketplace, it would sell for about $15,000 to $18,000.
Wow. That's really something.
It's really gorgeous.
The guest is surprised and delighted by this valuation. Both share a laugh over the basket's history and significance. A glass vase was bought by a guest in an Orrefors, Swedish, to be appraised. He shared that they purchased it at a thrift shop auction for $100, attracted by its unique design featuring chameleons and vibrant colors. The vase, signed by renowned artist Edvin Öström, also includes a date code, 143E, which signifies its production period between 1939 and 1950. This particular vase is part of the Ariel collection, a distinct line developed by Öström, Vicke Lindstrand, and master glassblower Gustav Bergqvist. The Ariel technique involves trapping air between layers of molten glass, creating bubbles and intricate designs. The vase is also notable for its aventurine, tiny green sparkles embedded in the glass, adding to its rarity. The appraiser highlighted the vase's original shape, noting its unusual foot design and flawless condition. Weighing an impressive 15 pounds, it stands out as one of the heaviest vases appraised. With its rich history and craftsmanship, the guest's $100 investment proved to be a great find.
Your $100 investment, you did really well. You want to know how well?
How well?
I think in a retail shop that this could sell for $35,000 to $45,000.
The appraiser concluded by revealing the vase's significant value, estimated at $35,000 to $45,000. A rare 1882 poster shows the strange sport of 6-day walking races at the old Madison Square Garden. The guest brought a poster of the original Madison Square Garden, built in 1879.
I brought a poster of the original Madison Square Garden. I believe it was built in 1879.
He purchased it at an auction in Indiana 7 years ago. The poster advertises a 6-day pedestrian race from 1882. Competitive walking was a huge craze back then. Famous athletes like Charles Rowell participated in these events. The poster was a stone lithograph printed in New York before chromolithography became popular. Only a limited number of these posters were made and displayed in shops. After consulting experts, the appraiser valued the piece.
We feel that at auction, conservatively, this would sell for $2,000 to $3,000.
Oh, wow.
This ceramic tile is a one-of-a-kind artwork. The guest purchased it as a wedding gift for his wife, completely unaware that only 10 of its kind have ever surfaced, making it exceptionally rare. On the bottom of the tile was the signature of Tony Morris, a relatively young artist at the time. Tony Morris had no experience working with ceramics before enrolling at the School of Arts in 1963. He was given the freedom to work at his own pace, but his wages were quite low, so in his spare time he would buy these tiles and paint on them to earn some extra money. The tiles he used were the country's finest tiles, CARAT tiles, crafted at the Poole Pottery Works. While Tony had made landscapes, insects and portraits too, this particular tile featured a purple Canadian goose. The appraiser was captivated by the purple goose and greatly admired Tony Morris's craftsmanship. Given the rarity of the tile and the growing popularity of Morris's work, it was valued at...
If this were to come to market, a dedicated collector of Tony Morris's work would happily give you £3,000.
Yes, joking. Blown away.
The guest brought 2 porcelain vases for appraisal that he purchased in Toronto, Canada 10 years ago. His wife found the vases while antiquing, and he fell in love with the unique designs, reminiscent of spring. Initially, they were told the vases were German. However, the guest suspected they might be Japanese due to the lack of clear markings.
For someone to think that they're German is actually a very logical thing to think. This type of design with the little bitty tiny white flowers completely covering the surface of the vase is called Schneeball, which actually means snowball.
This style was popularized in the 18th century and later revived in the 19th. Applied flowers, branches, birds, and fruit were some of the features of these vases. These vases were only for decoration and not functional.
Someone might say, what are these for? What do they do? And my answer is they don't do anything. They just sit there and look beautiful. The lids do come off, and I guess suppose they could be used for flowers, but at that point I think that might be overkill.
They dated back to the 1860s or 1870s, and the appraiser believed them to be French-made, most likely in or around Paris. The vases bore unclear blue marks, making attribution difficult. Reflecting their rarity, condition, and the artistry of their creator, these vases were appraised at...
A retail value of this pair of vases would be somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. Wow. Fabulous. Woo.
Frederick Remington, famed for his Old West art, is frequently forged due to his popularity and the high value of his works. Remington's paintings, known for dynamic compositions and historical detail, vividly capture the American West. His works depicted cowboys, soldiers, Native Americans, and landscapes. Remington's paintings are forged less often than his sculptures due to their complexity.
Sometimes fakes were made purposefully, and sometimes they were made as replicas. So there are a lot of variations, but there are a lot of fakes.
Remington's style, with loose brushwork and movement, has subtle nuances hard for forgers to replicate. However, some forgers skillfully imitate Remington's style or modify works to mimic his subjects. That's why the Buffalo Bill Museum preserves Remington's paintings with a catalogue raisonné. Experts verify Remington paintings using pigment analysis, infrared imaging, and knowledge of his techniques. A piece of French Art Nouveau glass was brought in by the guest. It had been purchased by her husband for $20 to $30. The piece was identified as an unsigned work by Ernest Yeveillé and Eugène Rousseau, French glass artists. Their work was highly decorative, often featuring nature-inspired motifs and intricate craftsmanship. The appraiser explained that the artists worked from the 1880s to the early 1900s. The particular piece being unsigned was common for these artists. The glass was made using a technique where colored inclusions, in this case red and white, were added to the blown glass to enhance its appearance. After the glass was blown, it was wheel carved with flowing designs and then fire polished to give it a glossy finish. The design was continuous, wrapping around the entire piece, with veining visible on all sides. The piece had minor damage, including a small chip on the back and another on the base. The appraiser admired the incredible high quality of the glass.
The nice thing about the French is they used a lot of lead. So when you pick this thing up, it weighs a ton. So it's a nice quality glass.
It was suggested that professional restoration could increase the piece's value by 50% or more. However, in its current condition, the appraised value was...
The value in its condition right now is, I would say, retail between $3,000 and $4,000.
Really?
A rare naval bayonet from the Kaiser's Navy with a history too rich to bury. The guest brought a bayonet his father-in-law acquired during World War II.
Over the years, he eventually divulged where he got them, how he acquired them. He picked them up off of some German soldiers that were disposed of.
His father-in-law fought in D-Day, Normandy, and took the bayonet from German soldiers. The appraiser identified it as an S-98 bayonet from 1898 to 1905, primarily used in World War I. The engraving indicates it was used by the Kaiser's Navy, a rare and exciting collectible. The bayonet was never officially issued, likely a private purchase. Its excellent condition and unique history make it valuable. While examining, the appraiser estimated its worth.
On the market today, this would have a retail sales value of $1,200 to $1,500.
Very good. That's a pleasure to hear. Yes. Wow. I told myself if I were on this show, I was not going to say wow like everybody else does.
The guest was pleased with the news. Appraisal flashed back to season 5 of the antique show in Denver, where a guest approached him at the photography table, holding a beautiful marquetry box. Guest collected Abraham Lincoln items, and this was given to the guest by a church member. The box was built by Dr. Samuel Mudd, a co-conspirator in Lincoln's assassination. The box's exterior is marquetry, but the interior is even more impressive. It features a seaweed wreath with an inscription by W. Butler Back, a guard at Fort Jefferson where Mudd was imprisoned. Mudd made the box from driftwood he found on the beach during his imprisonment. If this box were auctioned, it could be valued at
somewhere between $10,000 to $15,000 or $15,000 to $20,000.
Wow, that is impressive.
Experts believe the box's current value is in the range of,
I would think it's somewhere between $25,000 and $40,000. It's a fabulous piece of American history.
The guest received an Elaine De Kooning painting as a gift from his dearest friend, his high school English teacher whom he had known for 50 years.
Before during your visit?
Actually, when I first entered her home about 35, 40 years ago, I saw it hanging on the wall with a lot. She had a lot of other paintings, and this one just stuck out. And every time I go to her house, I would stare at it and just say, that is just...
Elaine Marie Catherine De Kooning was an abstract expressionist and figurative expressionist painter in the post-World War II era. She was the wife of Willem de Kooning, also a Dutch-American abstract expressionist artist, and created this piece around 1959 or 1960. De Kooning was a visiting professor in Albuquerque and befriended the guest's teacher. The painting was a very energetic mixed media work on paper, with elements very much like gouache, acrylic paint, and featured a bull at the center.
Louise said she enjoyed going to the bullfights in Juarez and would go there quite frequently and became fascinated or enchanted with the whole bullfight.
Elaine De Kooning was part of the abstract expressionist movement, but maintained figuration in her work.
And she didn't take any nonsense. And she put up with a lot of nonsense from William de Kooning, but she had her own flings as well.
Oh.
So she was quite an independent lady. She was feisty.
She blended abstract expressionism with figuration, which was evident in her bull paintings, and portraits, including that of John F. Kennedy. The painting's significance was heightened by Elaine De Kooning's growing recognition as an artist, and it got appraised at.
So would it surprise you if I said more likely at auction 50,000 to 80,000?
Yeah.
Well, I'm delighted to hear it. It's nice people still get surprised.
And insurance value would be about
insurance,
the same?
you're going to be north of 100,000. So I don't think you should insure it for less than 140, 150,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might want to have a word with your insurance.
My premiums are going up.
They are.
Our guest brought an unbound volume by Edward Curtis, documenting his travels along the western Alaska coast in the 1920s. Curtis photographed people from the guest's hometown, some of whom the guest personally knew. One of the most surprising discoveries for the guest was finding a photograph of his adoptive mother, Priscilla Hensley.
But her English name was Priscilla Hensley. And so that took me by surprise.
So you had no idea that a picture of your mother was in this, this volume?
That's right.
Another standout photo was taken near where the guest was born. Our guest explained traditional transportation methods like the kuyuk and umayak, which were important for hunting. Another important photo depicted airtight sealskin containers used to store food such as blubber.
And in there would be blubber. In there would be dried fish cut up, sealskin dried and cut up, beluga half dried and cooked, cut up. There'd be greens in there, and there'd be beluga muktak.
The appraiser valued the unbound volume at
Probably expecting to see it go for around $10,000 at auction if everything is in really good condition, which I think that they are.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Ah, great.
Our guest fondly described his hometown, located 29 miles above the Arctic Circle, as part of Inupiat country. Pin was brought by a guest who had purchased it at a church antiques fair. The item held significant historical value because of its connection to Lord Nelson. He was a British naval hero who died at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. The appraiser pointed out that the pin featured the name Nelson in black enamel. It was made using champ-levé enamel, a technique commonly seen in mourning rings from the early 19th century. This pointed to the likelihood that the pin was a personal relic of Nelson. The owner confirmed that the seller had mentioned a connection to Nelson, but did not provide much detail. Although the pin had no intrinsic material value, its historical context made it far more valuable. The appraiser noted that Nelson and Napoleon memorabilia were highly sought after by collectors. He added that if the pin went to auction, it could generate a lot of interest. Originally bought for £8, the estimated value of the piece was...
And I'm going to venture £4,000 to £5,000 on it.
Oh, my goodness.
This lovely painting was purchased by these guests in 1986. Without knowing much about the artist, but loving the subject matter, they bought the painting from a newspaper ad for about $500. This painting was made by the artist Lilla Cabot Perry. Perry was an American artist who worked in the American Impressionist style, rendering portraits and landscapes in a free-form manner influenced by the work of Claude Monet. She was an early advocate of the French Impressionist style and contributed to its reception in the United States. The painting is believed to depict Perry's granddaughter, Edith, and her doll, Caroline.
We bought a painting that we purchased back in 1986. The artist we're now known is Lilla Cabot Perry.
It is an oil-on-canvas painting and a very special piece. At auction, it is valued at about...
I would say a current auction estimate for this painting would be at least $40,000 to $60,000. Wow.
A rare beaded shirt from the 1850s, tied to a boy traded for supplies, reveals a powerful piece of history. The guest shared a story from her mother-in-law about her great-grandparents' trading post. Native Americans came in one day, offering a boy in exchange for supplies. The boy had red hair and blue eyes and was taken in and raised by the family. The appraiser said the shirt, made around 1850, was decorated with glass beads and bison hide. The design suggests it might be a Kiowa shirt. The beads were sewn with animal sinew, and the bison hide dates it to an early period. It was appraised in 2001, but its value has grown.
He wanted to give us $10,000 for it.
That was probably around 2000?
2001, I think.
The appraiser estimated its value as...
I would expect a retail price on this of around $150,000.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
This shirt represents an important piece of history. An authentic Jean Harlow autograph tied to Hollywood's original blonde bombshell could unlock hidden value with a mystery inscription. The guest received a Jean Harlow signed photograph from a late friend and his widow. The friend was a movie star autograph collector, and the guest had long admired this piece. The appraiser pointed out the signature on the lower left, reading, "To my darling Ruthie, don't forget me."
To my darling Ruthie, don't forget me, so much love. One of the things that is pretty widely known is that her mother signed most of the photographs that we see out there in the market.
Jean Harlow's mother, Mama Jean, often signed for her, but this signature appears to be genuine. Jean Harlow, born in 1911, tragically died of kidney failure in 1937.
Good to me. She was born in 1911 and she died so tragically young in 1937.
The guest believes she died due to bleaching her hair, but it was actually linked to childhood scarlet fever.
So she actually did die of kidney failure. The issue is, it wasn't peroxide that killed her. She actually, as a child, suffered from scarlet fever.
The appraiser estimated the photo's value at around $3,000 at auction. If Ruthie could be identified, the value could rise to $5,000 to $7,000. Jean Harlow was a major Hollywood star, often seen as the original blonde bombshell. Her autographs are rare, increasing the significance and value of this photo. This lamp has been in this guest's family for a very long time. It was originally purchased from the Reynolds family of Reynolds Tobacco in North Carolina. It had been in the guest's grandmother's house for many years before being inherited. This lovely piece was originally made as a vase before being converted into a lamp. The vase was made in France during the late 19th century. It was crafted in the Limoges area using a technique called pâte sur pâte, meaning paste on paste.
And made in the area of Limoges with a technique that is referred to as pâte sur pâte. And pâte sur pâte, translated from the French, is paste on paste, and it refers specifically to this white decoration.
One unique feature of this lamp is its rich, distinctive color.
This kind of elephant skin, purpley gray, comes into play, but this sky blue as the predominant color.
Its decorations are more elaborate than other typical Limoges pieces. These decorations on the lower end are in the 18th century style, which was popular at the time. During its conversion from a vase to a lamp, a hole was drilled into the base. It can, however, be restored to its original state as a vase. In this current state, this lamp is valued at about...
As a vase, made into a lamp with the hole in its current condition, I would value it at auction at between $2,000 and $3,000.
Wow.